7, 8, 9, 10.
Flawless, baby. That's nice. That's perfect. Why haven't we been doing that before?
I bought a metronome for this.
For this specifically?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God. That was so consistent. I was just counting down. It was flawless, dude. What's up, everybody? This is the Crusade podcast. I'm EJ Olson. What's the Crusade podcast? I don't know. Nick Durheim, tell me what it is. What is it today?
Mega Man is the son of Samus and Master Chief.
You heard it here, folks.
But that's just a theory.
A game theory. I'm so hyped now. I'm so hyped. All right. Anyway, today's the day. We're talking some stuff. Today, it's just more about a little bit of general housekeeping. You know what I'm saying? Some odds and ends. We don't have too much time to record, so we're going to be talking, you know, kind of what we've been playing lately. A little Skyrim, a little Mario. Mario. I finally beat it.
Finally, you're like 3 weeks late on that train.
I was a little late, but hey, at least I committed and I did it.
I think I beat it on the Saturday or Sunday after it came out.
Yeah, like I hadn't even started the damn thing by the time you beat it. We're going to follow up on the Battlefront controversy, EA, the whole thing. You guys are going to be shocked to learn that Nick finally owns a video game console.
A real one.
What did you go and buy?
I decided it was time for me to graduate from that fake baby gamer stuff that Nintendo does. So I got myself a real man's console. Bought myself a PS4 because Black Friday deals are just bursting through my chest. So I had to buy something.
I ended up actually picking up a few Black Friday deals.
I've been considering some games that are real cheap now.
Dude, you know, Best Buy does all of their stuff. If you're an elite rewards member, like if you spent, you know, so many dollars.
I think it's $1,500.
Yeah.
I was looking at that, but I'm not near that threshold yet.
No, well, between my girlfriend and I, we definitely hit that. We bought a dryer this year and, you know, all sorts of different things. So I have all the Black Friday deals early. So I bought Horizon today. I bought Fractured But Whole for like $28 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I picked up Xenoverse on the Switch.
Xenoverse 2, yeah.
Yeah, it was $20. And I almost got Assassin's Creed, but I figured that's a game I want to play on PC, and I'll get it on a Steam sale this Christmas or whatever.
Right.
Surprisingly, well, not so surprisingly, I guess. Disappointingly, Nintendo really wasn't running too many deals on any of their games.
None of the first party, but that's kind of how it always is. They've got some deals on their Nintendo Selects, but at this point, you probably already own those. Like I saw some 3DS games on sale, but
yeah,
$15 for a 3DS game. If you don't already own it, then yeah, sure, get Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon. That's a great game.
Right. Did you ever beat that game?
No, because it's on the 3DS.
Oh, fair enough.
Like that's not the right thing for me to play. I don't want to dust that old thing off. Otherwise, I would have bought like a new game. Would have bought Metroid Returns or Samus Returns at this point.
In our Nintendo group chat, there was a fella. All right, I'm pointing fingers at you, Chris, you motherfucker, who thinks that Samus Returns is a better game than Mario Odyssey.
Which, I mean, if you're into Metroid games and not as into 3D Mario games, then that's a very easy assessment to make. But it's also on the 3DS, so nobody wants that. We
won't do it this pod, but in the next 2 weeks, we're going to do the Game Awards predictions. We're going to give our predictions, and then we're going to give our personal picks and kind of just, you know, wax on that a bit. You guys are going to be really mad at me when it comes to Game of the Year and Nintendo. So I don't hold that against you, Chris. I just had to, you know, throw some salt, some shade your way.
Splatoon 2 Game of the Year.
Honestly, no, man. If it wasn't just a port, that would be probably I put the most time into that. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we should probably do that next week, just because Game Awards will approach on us very quickly.
Yeah,
because it's on a Thursday, I think. So depending on what the turnaround is from this point forward, because we've been kind of doing some catch up. If you've noticed on your feeds, you listeners, doing like double duties, getting double dips on the weeks.
And you're getting 2 more this week.
Yeah.
But hey, we've been recording every Monday. So that's one step closer to being consistent and me not being a trash person.
Well, both of us not being trash people.
I didn't want to throw you under the bus. I was trying to take the fall for you there, Nick.
Hey, man, I'll take that bus.
We are the Constant Crusade. We're partners in crime here.
You're bugging me because I was taking my sweet time because I just got, the PS4. So I was hooking that up, getting my PSN account like all hooked up and everything and trying to get it all sorted out. And that was like an hour ago. And you're like, Nick, messaging me frantically, trying to get me to get on my computer so we can record.
Hey, man, I had a beautiful woman over here. The fact that she was beautiful really has no bearing on anything. I just want everyone to know that I hang out with pretty people. I'm kidding. But anyway.
Nobody believes you.
No, I know. Whatever. All right. So I was sitting on my throne made of gold, and I was just burning piles of cash because I live a fantasy life.
Wait, what's that? I can't hear you all the way down here if you're all the way up in your ivory tower.
Anyway, let's get the fuck out with this shit. I want to dive into the PlayStation thing here because we've talked about this so many times on the podcast where you say, I might get one.
You knew I would, though. I'm pretty sure I've said that I will. It's just I was waiting for a good deal, and Amazon, I bought it for $200. So that's a good deal, I think.
That's a good deal.
New Slim got a terabyte of storage. I mean, I'm good to go.
I think we are currently in like this golden age of video games. The holy trinity is PC, PS4, Nintendo Switch. Like you got your Nintendo exclusives, you do your multiplayer shit on the PlayStation. Plus PlayStation has, 20 phenomenal exclusives, right? You're not into all of them, but they're there. And then PC for everything else.
And if you're not a stickler for super high quality gaming, then you don't even need the PC part of that equation.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But I'm a whore of the graphical variety. So,
which is why you play Destiny on PS4.
Well,
or actually, you don't even play Destiny because you're a fake gamer.
I haven't touched it. I haven't had the time. Story of my life. But no, it's the thing is all my friends have it on PS4. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, you get yourself invested in a platform, then that's your default platform, especially multiplayer.
Yeah.
All of our friends have PS4s.
Everybody. And it was kind of, crazy. We don't have to dive into why Sony's been so wildly successful, but it was kind of weird seeing everyone go from having an Xbox to a PlayStation. And it kind of took me a minute to like be okay with that because the PS3 to me always was this gross console. All the multi-plat games ran like shit on it. And it wasn't until 2009, 2010, 2011 that it really caught up in terms of catalog. And so by then it was too far gone.
Yeah, and 360 never really had exclusives as much as PS3 did. They had like the third party relations, so stuff released a little bit earlier on their platform. And it was like for like a while too. I remember Mass Effect was the Xbox exclusive for a good while. And Skyrim, nobody ever wanted to play that on PS3 just because of how buggy it was. Because Sony decided to have a terrible architecture for their system.
Best-selling console of all time, the PS2. As you pointed out last time we talked about it, they're probably still selling those things in Brazil or some shit.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. I mean, they only stopped making games for it like 2 years ago. It was like FIFA 2015 was the last PlayStation 2 game.
That's amazing. Really amazing. But they came in, they said, okay, we'll make this ridiculous $900 console. We'll sell it for $600 and just expect that people will buy it because it's this boutique item. It's this premium item. And, PlayStation is synonymous with video games in the way that Nintendo was in the 80s and 90s, right? To a parent, every gaming system was a Nintendo.
Yeah, you get the Sony Nintendo. Not just Ben Heck has it at that point.
Was it the Nintendo PlayStation or no? Was it the Nintendo PlayStation? Was that working? I'm curious now.
It was either that or the Sony Super Nintendo. Kind of like how Philips had that weird GameCube that could play DVDs.
Dude, that thing is a fucking tank. Have you seen that thing?
Well, it's also disgusting. Why do they make it all chrome?
Dude,
that's awful.
That's how you know you're getting what you paid for back in the fucking mid 2000s.
Stupid spaceship.
Oh man, you're officially with us on this console crusade, Nick.
Yeah, finally part of the crew.
Welcome.
You're gonna let me borrow / have some games.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're ever gonna get around to playing them again.
Well, I'm selling so many of my games right now, like 90% of my collection, and a lot of my modern stuff's also going, but that's not worth anything.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a good deal. I'll buy you some Thai food.
See, I'd be more than happy to go on a lunch date with you, and you can just have all the games that you're interested in. Yeah, because I got the Bloodborne. I'm pretty sure I still have Bloodborne, and I've got Ratchet and Clank, and I've got Uncharted.
Yeah, like what other games that I would actually want to play? I think Andrew said he was going to let me borrow Last of Us Remaster.
Yeah.
So I can try that out. Chris was bugging me about that too.
I hope you can find it in your heart to fall for a game like that. I know it's just really basic cover shooter. It's a fucking Naughty Dog game. But it's more about the story. And I know you're kind of like, if I want story, I'll watch a movie, I'll read a book, right?
Well, you know how you have your own personal like disconnect with cartoons in general?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about video game characters. Like they're never very good. They're never like they can have like a good performance, but the best performance is just a mocap, and at that point, just do an FMV game.
Yeah, give me some Snatcher shit, bro. I want to point and click my way through.
The only reason they do motion capture is so they can do like different angles with the camera after the fact, which is cool. That's a cool thing, but it doesn't make me feel any more attached to the character.
Well, maybe this will be the game that grabs a hold of you and doesn't let go.
And see that intro with Joel running from his house for the millionth time? I swear I've seen that intro exactly 1 million times.
Well, you know, I had actually also seen it over and over before I ever actually bought it myself. I had even owned a PlayStation.
I've seen that intro on par with as many times I've seen the first episode of Arrested Development.
For that, I am terribly sorry. You want to talk about things that we don't get?
You don't even like Arrested Development, so I don't know how I could trust anything you think. You like 4 today.
I don't. Oh wow, we gotta make it personal. You son of a gun. Okay, let's move on from this before anyone can figure out what 4 today really is. PlayStation Land. Are there any other exclusives that you're interested in playing? I
was thinking about picking up Neo or Nio, however you pronounce that, because I saw that on sale at Best Buy, but it's also coming to PC, so I don't know if I want to wait for a PC sale, because that seems like a game that would really take the improvements of like frame rate and everything and like make it a better experience. That's like a Dark Souls or Bloodborne kind of game.
Yeah, it seems, I was going to say, remember back when Colin Moriarty was still covering games, he was talking about that. And I was like, oh, this looks like a game for Nick. This looks like not a game for EJ.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about it. I would like to play it on PC, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Ideally, I would play Bloodborne on PC, but that's never going to happen because that's a Sony published game.
Hopefully, Bloodborne for you, even after 2 or 3 years, lives up to the hype you've been hearing about for years now. So,
well, yeah, I played it a little bit over the weekend, got to the 3rd boss, but it's rough with all like the frame rate drops, and it's like a almost 30 throughout, and that's just kind of rough, especially when I'm used to playing Dark Souls at 60 FPS.
And for a game like that where you're trying to be as precise as possible.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to be like, I'm not gonna go full max and start blaming the input lag or whatever. But it feels kind of bad sometimes, and that's just not the most ideal situation.
Shouts out to Max Montgomery of A Precipice Between Two Hills podcast. How many controllers has that boy broken in a fit of rage blaming the game?
I'd say probably more than 3.
That's a lot of controllers. Probably less than 7, right?
Probably. Yeah, let's give him the benefit of that doubt.
Yeah. But I don't know. He's been at it a long time.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
MLG.
Well, what have you been playing lately? I mean, obviously you said you were playing some Bloodborne, but now you got that PS4. I imagine that's all you'll be doing for the next week.
We'll see whenever you get up here and I can borrow some games from you, because otherwise I'll just look at that start screen and just kind of like, oh, look at that. It depends on if I end up going like buying games physically on Black Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm looking into picking up some games on the Switch. And then if I'm there, then I'll kind of peruse the PS4 aisles and think about what I want to play, because mostly it's just the stuff I want to borrow from you and like Andrew. That's pretty much all I can think of that I want to play. That is literally Sony exclusive. Beyond that, it'd be like multiplayer games if the guys wrote me into getting Overwatch or something.
Overwatch is, I missed that boat, man. I bought it the first week it was out. Maybe it was the second week, and I played it for about a week, and I enjoyed it a lot, but I felt like even having missed 2 weeks or whatever, everyone was already so hardcore, and I was playing catch up, and the guys in our play group or would be play group, they were kind of doing their thing, and it just never grasped me. It's something I might go back to again if the play group's there. Although I said that about Destiny, and I just haven't had the time to even turn that fucking game on, which sucks so bad. I miss it. Like
you're saying, it definitely depends on whether or not the people I would play with are still playing it and they badger me enough into getting it.
Right.
Because there's no way I'm like soloing through that. I'm not going to join randos and try to play with them. There's no way I'm plugging in a headset unless it's to talk to my actual friends and not some weird strangers that are going to harass me for not being good at the game, because I'm definitely not going to be good.
I wonder, is your Logitech headset going to work with the PlayStation? I imagine it would have to.
I haven't tried. I mean, that was something I was going to look into, but that also, the PS4 comes with those dinky little earbuds. I think that has a mic attached to it if I really wanted to try.
Oh, they're so bad. Oh, Nick, they're so bad.
I bet. But at the same time, with a game like Overwatch, I'd rather have that kind of communication. And besides, the whole point of the game is to hang out with your friends.
Totally.
Which is even more so than like Splatoon. I played Splatoon by myself more often than not, really.
Yeah.
And that was a fine experience. I thought that was a lot better than Overwatch, just because the matches are shorter and they're less intensive. Like, you feel less like you're in charge of making sure that the team wins.
Right.
Or if the team loses, it's not your fault. Like, it's everyone contributes to your failure.
Right. And we've
So
been
a little bit less high stakes.
I dipped my toes back in the Splatoon pond. Oh, did not play the Splatfest. I was gone for 2 days and had no chance to play. And this last prior, the week prior, we were jumping in and we put an hour or two in, and it was nice to jump back because this summer when the game came out, we were playing all the flipping time. And that's just a lot of fun when you have a bunch of people going and I know it's a pain in the ass that you always can't party up with your friends and the teams are randomized once you're in a lobby together. But that's almost kind of fun because you never know like who's, if you have 4 or 5 people, you never know who's going to be on whose team. And so sometimes it's interesting, like so-and-so will be on a team now. Oh, then it'll be 3 versus 1. And then you have the rare chance where everyone's on the same team that happens once in a blue moon and everyone gets excited. So it kind of keeps it interesting, but it was nice to jump back in and.
Yeah, the most fun I had with the whole shuffling around aspect when you're teamed up or partied up is whenever there was 4 or more people. Because like you're saying, it would be really funny when it was like 2-on-2 and it's like, oh, it's me and EJ. We got to take on Leaf and Drew. Or then it'd be me and Leaf against you and Drew. Or then it was like one of us versus 3 of the other. Like that's legitimately a really cool kind of fun thing, especially when the match is only 3 minutes long.
Right.
I don't care.
I wish we could party up in ranked mode though.
Well, that's why there's the second ranked mode.
You have to get to a certain rank and then
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like league or something.
League mode.
Where you have to be either teams of 2 or teams of 4. Because if you and me wanted to play, then we get teamed up with another pair of people.
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
It's also frustrating though, because more often than not, we have 3 people. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, if we want to play ranked.
Well, it just means we have to play Triforce Heroes, dude.
Oh my God. Maybe some Federation Force.
Yeah, Federation Force. Yes, exactly. Thank you. See, Nintendo, they understand that people play in 3s.
I think Leaf actually really is into that game. Chris, too. I think they've asked us a few times.
I think Leaf is an unapologetic Nintendo apologist.
That was a sentence, and I think you're probably right.
I stumbled through it, but boy, I got there.
Leaf, you're a shill, goddammit.
Seriously, I expect $20 from you from those Nintendo Fun money. Give them eShop credits.
Oh man, those things are valuable. Let me tell you what. That's what the world will be running on in the event of the apocalypse. It'll be all Nintendo eShop credits.
That sounds like a very stable economy because nothing ever changes price in that damn shop.
Exactly. Yeah. We just solved the apocalypse, man.
Damn, dude, that's all it took. Nintendo.
Reggie Fils-Aimé will be fucking running the New World Order.
Our planet is ready.
Oh no! I love it.
To be serious though, I was actually checking out the eShop because there's a dedicated spot for sales now.
Right.
And there were some games on there that I was thinking about maybe getting because they're like 30% off. And it's like, I wouldn't buy this for $10, but for $7, I might. But I didn't actually end up buying. I was just browsing because I like to do that every now and then. I would like to browse more if there was some sick, music in the background. So like dun 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 digga digga dun.
Well, I wonder why there isn't any music. Why not just carry over to the old eShop music?
Oh, then the eShop would start running at like 15 frames per second. Just massive stuttering. It's just not strong enough.
Oh no! You know what?
You're looking at the eShop at like 360p.
That's fucking garbage.
Interlaced.
That's fucking garbage.
Okay, speaking of which, just kind of transition a little bit. I kind of want to steer this boat for a moment. You played Mario mostly in handheld or in docked?
I probably split it pretty evenly down the middle.
Pretty evenly. Did you notice how weird it would look in handheld sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely looked worse handheld than it did on the TV. And
not just worse, but like I was playing handheld, I think one time, and there's this, I don't know if it was because of the camera angle or just like the perfect storm of events, but there was a very weird kind of jaggedness to Mario, and not like the angles were stepping, but like there was literally a back and forth like houndstooth looking pattern on a vertical edge of him, comparing him to the background. And I was like moving the camera, so there was like the dynamic resolution kind of kicking in with that too, and I think that was contributing. But I was looking into it, and it was because they do this thing where it's running at half the resolution, and it like bounces back frame by frame.
Oh God!
Or it refreshes, so it's like it's like a rolling 30 that makes it look like a 60.
Wow, I didn't ever notice that. That's like...
So apparently it works like pretty well. If I only noticed it one time and you didn't really notice it at all.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. So it's like 640 by 720, and then they stretch it and like do this like weird Nintendo magic and got it to run 60% pretty much locked.
Nintendo Magic's the right word.
I never experienced any slowdown in Mario.
The only time I experienced slowdown was in New Donk City. So let me just say, New Donk City, my feelings about it are twofold. First off, I was really weirded out just by the whole concept of being in a city with these real looking at people and, proper human anatomy. And then like the mayor was like proportionate to a human.
How proper is this human anatomy? What? Are you playing Mario with the hot coffee mouth? Seeing some danguses?
Oh, no. Some danguses. Dude.
Some vacuchers?
I saw someone's chain chomp, that's for sure.
Whoa. Koopa the Quick over here.
Oh, no. The mayor, she's proportionately accurate, but like has this weird, scary animu face. I was so not about it.
Yeah, she's the only one with a real face in that kingdom.
Very, very creepy. But it was weird running around. Like New Donk City felt lifeless to me. It was just kind of gray and boring in a lot of aspects. And I was just like, this doesn't feel like Mario to me. But then at the same time, I was equally upset about how small it was. New Donk City was extremely small compared to some of the bigger kingdoms, I feel like. Maybe that's just my perception of it, but I felt like it's just one big block. And I was like, okay, I should be able to get lost in the goddamn city, but it's so condensed, it felt like.
Yeah, it seems like you're probably dragging in expectations from other games where you're in a city, like a Grand Theft Auto or Infamous, and that kind of colored your vision of it. Because for me, it seemed like that was probably the most full, like it was the most dense city. Like it's not sprawling, but there's like a lot of buildings. There's a lot of buildings you can just like go into. A lot of buildings you're like side kicking and jumping up to the top. A lot of verticality.
Yeah,
similar to the Wooded Kingdom, but a little bit less like hidden like nooks and crannies that the Wooded Kingdom had. More of just like interesting ways to get about with like swinging on lampposts and using the electricity to go up buildings and flinging yourself with the traffic cones.
Mario is interesting for me. Initially, I really loved the mechanics. I was really enthralled with how everything felt, and I thought Cappy was just a really interesting way to iterate on the Mario formula. Instead of having power-ups, you just have this hat that kind of does it all. About midway through the game, I quit being so obsessed with finding every moon as I went and just was like, okay, let me just experience the level, kind of go explore briefly, beat the boss and move on just to beat the game, unlock the rest of the moons and get on with it. Man, I hit that midway point, like probably maybe a little bit after the midway point. Is after New Donk City and you're doing like the Ice Kingdom and then like Bub Lane, the beach or whatever. It was a slog. It felt like such a chore. I couldn't wait for it to be over. And then you get to the last act, and every time you think the game was going to end, it kept going. And I was like, it was so drawn out. I know some people probably really enjoyed that, but I was just ready for the game to be over and ready to move on to the post game where I could just focus on hunting the moons. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm disappointed by the game because this is everything I would have ever expected from a Mario game. I'm disappointed in myself, Nick. All right, that
as you should be. Thank God.
Yeah, as my tastes, my attention span, whatever's wrong with me, that I enjoyed it. Right. And I've liked the final boss battles. I thought I kind of geeked out when you got to, spoiler alert, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just full disclosure. We're going to talk about the entire last like 3 levels of the game, and just get out of here if you don't want to be here. We won't alert you to come back. So just sort of like keep skipping.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure our only listeners are the people we talk to about this shit every day. So,
and everyone's already beaten this game. You're the only one who hasn't.
I know, I'm terrible. No, so you beat Bowser. When you go through his fucking gauntlet, the last level was cool. Second to last level, I guess. When you're just kind of running around, and
I thought you were going to talk about the little cutscene where the dragon shows up.
No, the dragon was badass.
Because that was like, what's happening here? And then you crash land and you're like in a Dark Souls level. You're like, what's going on?
It was super out of place. Well, it was funny too because Charles Martinet voices Mario, but he also voiced Parthenax in Skyrim.
A dragon.
Which very deep voice, fucking crazy
Nathan
voice.
Explosion was his backup. His protege.
Mermaider. Yeah, and so when I saw the dragon, all I could think of was like, is he doing the voice for Mario and this dragon right now?
Yeah, we got some Parent Trap action going on here.
Can we verify who voice acted the dragon? The voice didn't have any dialogue. the voice. The dragon didn't have any dialogue, but
nobody in the game has dialogue except for like the singing parts, which is also weird. How did you feel about the ending of New Donk City, where it has like the big like fireworks show and you do the 2D platforming stuff and the songs just going in the background? There's super hype, fun, cool, cute.
I loved all of the 2D platforming aspects of this game. And at the very end, actually, when you get to, okay, I cracked a smile when you got to control Bowser. I don't know why, I just didn't ever think that was possible. Like, I never once put two and two together. Like,
from the very get-go, as soon as he took off his hat, I was like, you're gonna be Bowser at the end of this game. There's no way you're not.
I just don't know how I didn't even consider it.
I was more surprised by Cat Bowser in Mario World, in 3D World.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, of course he could be a cat too. And chase me up this freaking building.
Yeah, I just didn't, I fought the dragon and then I went through his gauntlet and then I was like, all right, Peach is safe. The game's over. Wait.
Well, you fight the dragon and you do Bowser's Castle.
Right.
Bowser's Kingdom, which I thought was really cool. That was a really, really cool take on a Bowser stage where it's not like a foreboding castle. It's this Japanese, like traditional kind of inspired sprawling series of islands. I thought that was really cool.
I loved when we got to the moon and it had a different gravity, so it completely changed the way Mario controlled and the different things you can get to, and you'd see, oh, I can't do that. Wait a fucking minute. Yes, I can, because I'm on the goddamn moon. All right, let me Neil Armstrong my ass up the side of this cliff.
I love Mario games where you go to the moon. That's just one of my favorite things. There's been several.
I didn't play the Galaxy games, but you go to the moon in 3D World, don't you? Isn't that one of the special? No.
Maybe? I'm not sure. I don't know if I did the challenge road.
Okay.
You can go to the moon in Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins.
Okay.
It's got the low gravities there too. Super Paper Mario also has a moon stage.
I never played the Paper Mario games after GameCube.
You didn't even really play the GameCube one. You're not a Mario guy.
Like halfway through. Hey man, I've beaten more Mario games than I have any other franchise, save for maybe Dragon Ball Z games.
They're very short games and they're very good, so I would hope so.
Yeah,
I've beaten more Mario games than I've not played Mario games.
That was a confusing statement. I see what you're saying.
I've beaten more than half of the Mario games.
Yeah. So now that you can talk spoilers, what were some of your favorite things about this game? What were some of those moments that tickled you, made you stand up, quote unquote, and and wig out a bit?
There's a lot of really cool get hype moments. Some of the lesser, like, not so much hype, but I liked all the bosses that you fought with a transformation. I thought those are really cool and really interesting and uniquely designed.
Right.
Like the flower stealing UFO thing. The giant octopus with his creepy mustache.
Yeah. The lava head, the lava dome.
The mech, the brutal mech at the end of the Bowser's Kingdom.
Yeah.
Just all those were just a really interesting and fun mechanic versus the brutal fights, which were more kind of, they could have just as easily been Koopa Kids.
Yeah.
But I don't know, whatever. They're just shitty boss fights. I don't know. They're fine. A big fan of the end of New Donk City. I really liked that whole music number and then running through the 2D area and getting all the coins and everyone's just cheering and having a good time. This is the happy moment. Of course, the dragon showing up, I was like, what the heck? that was totally, caught me completely by surprise.
Yeah.
And then you fight it and it's like, that's a pretty cool boss fight. You don't transform, but it's a not brutal boss fight. So I enjoyed it because of that.
Yeah. Not a big fan of the brutals, man. Really not a big fan of them.
Both Bowser fights were good. They're pretty much what I've come to expect since, even more. They're better than 3D World boss fights. They're about on par with the Galaxy boss fights with Bowser. Being on the moon was cool. The low gravity and having the platform challenges associated with that. And then you haven't gotten to this point yet, probably not, but there's 2 challenge stages past the moon that are the dark side and the darker side.
Very cool.
And the dark side, the first part is a boss rush where you face all 4 brutals and then the mech version of them afterwards. And you're fighting them on the moon. So your gravity's a lot lower. They're like a higher tiered version of themselves. Like the hat guy has 3 hats, then he has like 7 hats, then he has like 20 hats. And he's messed up. He messed me up consistently. Like the ponytail girl, she's got 2 of the bomb things attached to her hat. All that kind of stuff. The tall, lanky dude, he like jumps across the entire stage when he's jumping because of the low gravity. And then when you fight the mech, instead of using the bird, you're using hammer bros. So you're just throwing hammers at the legs to because they're armor plated.
That almost seems
fall
easier.
Down, you have to jump up. Well, not with the low gravity.
Oh,
Moving
really?
around is just a lot harder in low gravity. Yeah, because every time they move, they're jumping.
See, I wasn't a fan of the mech fight only because it was slightly different. It was one of the only boss fight that actually gave me some trouble outside of the very final one, because those fucking birds, it's so inconsistent. You pack into it and you're trying to navigate. You've only got so many strips of wood on the various panels of this mech that you're trying to latch into, and you're just dangling around violently trying to orient yourself and peck into the right spot and get up to the top. And it was just frustrating because it was so tedious, and I'm trying to rush my way through it. I'm like, okay, I have to stop and think and actually line this up and make sure I can't just jet to the top. The final Bowser fight, I remember I texted you guys earlier today, and I was like, everything in this game has been ridiculously easy, and suddenly I'm thrust into the final Bowser fight and I actually have to try, and it was really frustrating. I realized that I kept the first 4 or 5 times I tried to beat him, I wasn't picking up the extra 3 heart pieces you buy from the guy right outside of the wedding venue.
Yeah, you can do that, yeah.
So I was going in with 3 trying to fight the guy, and the only move I couldn't avoid that killed me every goddamn time was when after you hit him into the barrier and he comes back into the middle, he would do the fire spinny thing, and I jump over it once. I do my super jump, or my backwards jump, and I jump over it once, and then he would come around a second time, and I got hit every time. So that was guaranteed 3 hits a match. So once I figured out I could buy those heart pieces.
I never got hit by the fire.
Well, fuck you.
Because, I actually got good at the game. But
Wow.
yeah, no, if you do like a higher jump, like if you do a backflip or a side jump or any of those, and then you go into a throw and then dive on the hat, then you're in the air long enough that the fire isn't going to hit you on either pass.
I actually, I did not use Cappy as a platforming tool outside of possessing other creatures at any point. I didn't ever utilize the dive or the extending my jump. Like I just never ever did.
As soon as I learned how to do that, that became a invaluable asset in my arsenal of platforming tricks.
Yeah,
like there's no way that I would never take the ascribed path from one location to another. I would always do weird platformy bullshit to get from point A to point B.
I need to go look at some YouTube videos then. Find some Mario, some tips and tricks.
Take, for example, I'm sure you've seen some of the videos that people have posted, but the videos of people doing the Koopa races, the post-game Koopa races, those, people go ham.
It's ridiculous.
Those. And I was proud because I got top 100 one time, but that was within the first 2 days, and I'm sure I'm down to 1,000th place.
Right.
It's the same with speedrunning. Like people just find out the optimal paths and they grind them and they figure it out, and they're shaving milliseconds off the time each time. It's crazy. I can't keep up with that, but I was proud of just getting my 97th place or whatever it was. I took a screenshot to make sure that I remember.
For posterity, I was a world champ.
It's in the annals of history and nowhere to be seen since then.
Right. Uh-oh. I got distracted. I got a business text and I got distracted.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
This is why. Oh, no. Shout out to Kids Picks.
Oops.
What up, first grade? Anything else you want to say about Mario before we kind of jump into a couple other brief topics before we have to
jump into? Nice.
You like how I did that?
Yeah, that was nice. I don't know. People talking about it being Game of the Year contender or like a 10 out of 10. I think those are 2 separate kind of things because I think it is a 10. It doesn't mean that it's a perfect game.
It's a perfect
Mario game. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what you saw right in my brain. You saw right through me. Like it is. It's if you want to play a Mario game, Odyssey will do everything you want it to do.
I would argue that I wouldn't even argue. It's the best 3D Mario game. And I appreciate all the 64 throwbacks in this game, especially, seeing the Mushroom Kingdom at the end and Peach's Castle. Like that was cool. And I have the context for that, even though I didn't beat Mario 64 and I don't even like that game. It was cool though. And I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia there for people who love that game. 64. This is easily the best 3D Mario game.
I think you need to play the Galaxy games for context.
Okay.
Because despite them not being a true Mario game, like you don't control the camera at all, just the nature of the stage select and the shortness of each level, like it's a lot more condensed, it's a lot more concise. And instead of having this smorgasbord of Mario stuff in a game like Sunshine or 64 or Odyssey, you just have individual plates that you get to enjoy the plate and then move on to the next plate when you feel like it. So in some regards, I think that Galaxy is more concise. It's more like the traditional Mario games where you have a level and they design the hell out of the level and it's a great level and then you move on to another level, as opposed to we have to make one giant level and then have these kind of bite-sized challenges. Like my favorite part of Mario Odyssey were the challenge pipes where you'd go down and like do this one little thing. Sometimes you'd have to get rid of your hat. You'd have to do everything without Cappy, and that was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to take possession of one thing and be that thing for the rest of the level. And there'd be 2 moons in there. You know, you have your regular moon and then your super secret hidden moon that you'd have to do a special thing that if you've been playing Mario and been like testing the boundaries of what you can do, then you'll probably end up finding it. So that was my favorite part of the game as far as like what I'm playing.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, because I like those shorter segments. So I like that part of Galaxy more than I like Odyssey. But also I played through Galaxy 1 and 2 all the way, like 100% of them both last summer, back to back.
Okay.
I can't even separate the two in my mind, and it's hard enough if you haven't played them back to back. But since I did, they're just completely inseparable. They're just the same game to me.
No, I'd imagine in a lot of ways they literally are the same game.
A lot of the same assets, the same mechanics, the same engine, physics, everything like that. They added some stuff in Galaxy 2, like some powers, and like some of the general just like layout, but it's very surface level stuff, not core to the game.
Well, I did appreciate the variety in Odyssey. You know, it was small little bite-sized segments like you were alluding to.
I really like just the locations. I thought that Mario always does a great job of having very colorful and unique locale.
Yeah.
And I've heard some people complain about, or not really complain, but they didn't really enjoy the New Donk City aesthetic, or a lot of people were complaining about the Luncheon Kingdom because of how full of lava it was. But then I'm looking at that map, I'm like, this is the same size as any of the other stages. It's just that instead of it being a cliff that you fall off of and die, it's lava that you can explore in as a little fire dude.
Right.
So, but then it was like so colorful, and the music when you get to the main stage where it starts playing the mandolin and they're all cooking and they're all chef works. Like, this is great. This is exactly what I want in a game.
It was funny at the end of that level when you possess the giant steak. Well,
the meat.
Yeah, you first get the slice of meat. And you're just like wiggling it like a fucking slug off to the edge. I wish
that's me literally every morning when I'm trying to get out of bed.
Yeah, right. I just looked up to Sarah and I was like, I am a piece of steak, apparently. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's just such a weird...
Just a piece of meat to you.
Just a fucking weird moment, man. That made me chuckle.
There's a lot of weird moments like that where you're just taking possession for a very, very short amount of time. But like you move a giant... there's the manhole cover in New Donk City. Yeah, there's a tree in the Wooded Kingdom that you become and move. It's just like
the fucking Christmas tree.
Yeah, the Christmas tree
down underneath in the dark below.
Dude, I didn't know that was a location. I had to look up online what that was because I was like, I got all the moons. Where do I go? So I went to the hint toad and he gave me like, oh, explore the deep dark or whatever it was called. I'm like, what the fuck is this talking about?
Right.
And it showed up on my map and it's like, I've been there. I can't go there. So then I had looked up online. It's like, oh, if you fall off the edge, then you fall into a different area. I'm like, well, I'm just too MLG. I never fell down.
Right, that's Dang. How I found out. I fucking fell right the fuck off. And there's a giant T-Rex down there.
Yeah, he's just walking back and forth, and he's got a hat on, so you can't possess him. But if he runs into a tree or like a wall, he knocks him out, then you can beat him.
I found that out. So it was funny, actually. I was playing through that part of the level. Max from Precipice Between the Two Eyeball podcast called me, and I was playing through on speaker with him, and I fell. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, oh, I'm in this secret area. And he's like, yeah, there's a T-Rex, but, you know, you have to run. There's no way you can, you know, whatever. But I ended up chasing him around. He hit the thing. His hat fell off, and I took control of him and was just kind of exploring down there. That was a cool little moment. The T-Rex, I wanted more T-Rex. All right.
Yeah, there's like that. And then the first Cascade Kingdom. And then it's used as like a stage hazard in some of the little pipe one-off stages, but beyond that, you're not really the T-Rex. I want to be the T-Rex on the moon.
That would have been really fucking cool. And I'm disappointed that there is no Moon Rex or something more with. I know they had the weird octopus thing on the moon, but like, come on, no cool aliens? Are you kidding me?
Or even just the water octopus. That would have been kind of cool on the moon too, to start blasting around like a jet.
Right. Oh gosh. You know, my least favorite kingdom was the Bablaine or whatever.
The Seaside Kingdom?
Yeah, is that what Bablaine Beach or some shit?
Yeah, Bablaine is the location inside the Seaside Kingdom.
Right. Okay. So
yeah, I didn't really like that. I'm just not a super big fan of water levels. It's either that or the Lake Kingdom for me. The Lake Kingdom at least is smaller, so it's less interesting, but then it's not as much time spent in there.
Well, it was my least favorite in a lot of respects, but probably my favorite mechanic from any enemy was those little squids that you could jetpack around.
Yeah, those are cool. I like my personal favorite are the weird onion people with the long legs in the wooded kingdom.
Oh, that make you yeah, definitely.
Both because they're fun to do their little challenges. They're like fun to explore around with, and they make the greatest noises, and they look really cool. And it's a new enemy, so that's really cool. I like it when they add new stuff. Like, yeah, sure, I like being a Goomba, but it's not as exciting as being a cool octopus and shooting water around, or being a weird onion, or being a goddamn T-Rex.
I really like when you're in the Snow Kingdom or whatever, and you take control of the big goofy guy to do his race.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
I've heard people complain about that race too, but I didn't have any trouble with any of those. Because of course you do the one, and then you can do a challenge version of that one, and then you do 2 more challenges with different stages. But I didn't have any trouble with like the actual races.
What in the world are people complaining about? Like, they're too difficult for them? Is that what the consensus is?
I guess so. I mean, you can ask Brian Altano on Twitter.
Was he crying about it?
Those are the only moons he hasn't gotten in the entire game.
For real?
Yeah, like he did the jump rope one, which is total bullshit. And then the volleyball one, which is even worse.
So how many moons can you get from the jump rope one?
You just get 2. You get one from getting it 10 or 20 times, and then one for doing 100 jumps.
We all got 51. All of us, except for Andrew. I think Andrew had 90 something, but the rest of us, like 4 or 5 of us, all had 51. As soon as it ticked up.
51? I didn't even check.
When I looked, yeah, we all had 51.
Yeah, I'm just not going to get that moon. If I'm not going to have fun with it, then I don't need to get it.
Well, fair enough. And that's probably what's going to keep me from diving too much further into this game. I'll do a cursory journey through each kingdom one more time.
Yeah, definitely go through the kingdoms, because now, since you've beaten the game, those, I'm sure you found them, those weird gray cubes.
Yeah.
You throw your hat at them, and then it unlocks the challenge moons.
Right.
So you get like 2 or 3 pipes that you can go down for challenge levels, and then there's the races, which I really like the races. Some people didn't like them, but I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan of just being Mario and moving around and getting from point A to point B, and that's what those races are. So I would definitely recommend those.
Okay.
And then they just add some other kind of shitty ones sometimes, but they're just usually just sitting out there after a platform, like getting up to a tall building, like, oh, how do I get up there? And then you get up there and you get a moon.
I mean, I guarantee I'm not 100% this game, but I am going to jump in again and go through it. And, probably not a game I should have spent $60 on right away. I've enjoyed it, but it's just...
Oh, come on. You spent 48. Or did you download it?
And I went to Walmart to buy it because I wanted to buy it like that night. So I didn't wait for my Gamers Club unlock. I just wanted to go get it. And I picked it up.
You didn't even play it till like Monday afterwards.
I know. That's what my problem is. So let me use this to segue into my latest genuine regret. Is the night Skyrim came out, I was so desperate to play it. I said, I'm gonna download the digital version right to my Switch. Better loading times, whatever. And so I dropped $60 on it. And, oh man, I regret it. The idea of playing Skyrim on a handheld device was so tantalizing that I couldn't even wait till the next morning to go buy a physical copy of it.
That's your Great White Buffalo right there.
I know. I figured, well, okay, if I download it, I have better loading times, and it'll always be there so I can keep one game in, and then I can always jump into Skyrim to go exploring whenever I want, Well, I downloaded it, and I popped it in, or I popped it on, and, it was really cool to see it on it. I was laying in bed, had the Christmas lights on, I was cozied up, and I'm holding a fucking Game Boy playing Skyrim, the best RPG of all time, right? It was really a cool moment. I texted you guys, and I was like, holy fuck. Well, I started playing, and I realized I have not played vanilla Skyrim since 2012. I built a gaming PC literally for Skyrim back in 2012. Mm-hmm. And I modded the thing out, and and that's how I played. And I've done it a few times over the years. Man, going back to, even though it's the enhanced version, it looks better than the 360 version. The load times are astronomically better.
Right.
Sub 10 seconds, whereas the original on 360 would be literal minutes.
Yeah, go up and get a sandwich while you're waiting.
Literally.
I remember that.
There were times it could be up to like 7-minute load times. It's just egregious. So that was cool. But I was playing it, and I went to the first little bit, and I got to Whiterun, which is like the first main little town you come across after the intro. And I was like, man, I really shouldn't have spent $60 on this. Like, this is cool, but I keep telling myself, even after they did the remaster, I said, I'm going to wait until it comes out on the Switch. I'm not going to mod it out and play on PC. This has just made me want to go back to PC, man. And so now I'm wrestling. I haven't played it in a couple days because I'm wrestling with like, should I just quit being a graphics whore and just enjoy Skyrim, have it handheld, and just appreciate it as it is? Or do I just want to go dive into the remastered version on the PC and mod it out and get all crazy and make it like this current gen experience? And I'm stuck, and I'll probably do neither. And I'll have just spent $60 on a game I'm not going to play.
Right, which is a bummer for you as a person who wants to save their money and make smart purchase decisions. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to reward Bethesda for actually giving support to the Switch.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I'm like, that's cool. That's pretty much half of why I bought Doom.
Yeah.
I didn't need to buy Doom again. I have it on my PC.
Right.
It's not like a different game on Switch, but it's just a cool thing to have. And it's a vote of confidence from me to a game developer that is actually making games on Nintendo platform that I haven't done since like Where's Waldo on the NES or whatever.
Right. It's not ridiculous. No, I really do appreciate that company, even though there are a lot of their games that I don't give a shit about.
Yeah, but they're doing it. They're a AAA publisher that's making these games that aren't like blowing the roofs off of people's houses. It's not like Dishonored 2. I don't think anyone cares about that. No one cares about Evil Within 2. You know, but they're still trying. They're still making single player games. They're not pulling an EA and making everything microtransactions and games as service.
Yeah.
Which is like a dirty word, but it's what people buy. So it's kind of cool to actually say, hey, I'm going to vote with my wallet and buy this thing, even if I'm not 100% sold on playing it for 200 hours, which would make it a worthwhile purchase for you, or whatever you gauge a worthwhile purchase as being.
I just need to dive back into it on the Switch and just sort of buck up and be like, all right, this game looks, you know, comparatively like shit, but it looks better than the 360 version, and it's a hand. I look at it as a handheld game. You know, I play the majority of it. You know, I'll be playing in bed and whatever. So
you can only polish a turd so much, you know. Skyrim's never going to look like The Witcher. It doesn't matter how many mods you put on it. The animations are still the animations.
That's part of the charm, though.
Making the textures better. Whatever, who cares?
Well, there are so many mods that actually change, like...
Yeah, you can fight Thomas the Tank Engine, you can put Shrek in there, whatever. I mean, that doesn't make the game better, that just makes it dumb.
No, man, some of the graphical mods, it changes everything from not just the textures, but there are mods that affect the physics, the lighting mods, and then there are mods that change the, like some of like the 3D rendering. So like, I can't remember what it's called, but like, instead of getting weird, jaggy, just messed up polygons, it sort of shows its age. You know, it's now a 6-year-old game that had been in development for 5 years, right? So you can make it look like a modern game, especially now that they've released the remastered version without the 4 gigabyte memory limit. And so there's, you know, kind of blew the roof off, you know, to use one of your colloquialisms.
Well, maybe in like a year, you'll get the Creators Club so you can pay for mods.
Nah, I won't support that.
Do the one thing that Bethesda does that nobody wants.
The Creators Club was a cool idea in some respects, but I don't know. They didn't go about it the right way.
Plus, it's like taking away a thing that PC users are super used to having the freedom for. It'd be like if Steam started charging for online play.
Right.
There'd be a riot, you know. No one wants that.
And I think that it was a pretty niche experience either way. Like that, you know, it was something people could talk about, but then in practice, nobody really took advantage of it. And it just, you know, it is what it is. I doubt it'll ever come to Switch, right? Like that's not happening.
Probably not. You're right.
One thing that I do appreciate about the game, especially now that I've spent 6 years with bigger open world games and more modern controls, I could completely remap my controls. So instead of jumping with fucking Y, or on the Switch is X, totally unintuitive. You know, I can kind of change it. I can change what my face buttons do and make most of my combat all in the triggers. You know, like, yeah, that's cool to be able to have that freedom. And Nintendo doesn't do that with a lot of their games. And so to have a Nintendo device that I can really get granular with my controls, like, cool, good for you, Bethesda. I saw someone on the Switch subreddit, someone with, oh, I don't want to misquote it now. Maybe, I don't know, like muscular dystrophy or something, or maybe...
Yeah, I saw the thread. I didn't actually read through it.
Something that prevented him from using standard controls, let alone motion controls. And they were talking about that. So that's cool. And that's something I took advantage of. I hope maybe that's incentive for you to like try Skyrim again. You can kind of make the controls whatever you want them to be to suit your taste as a Souls fan. And maybe you can dive into that world and maybe let the open world action RPG bite you in the ass. We'll see. Maybe.
It's never the buttons, dude. It's not about what you're pressing. It's about the actual encounters and like how you fight enemies. Dark Souls and Skyrim are literally nothing alike.
No, I know.
It's like comparing Castlevania to Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, that's a little hyperbolic, but I see what you're saying. I know they're nothing alike.
Because in Skyrim, you can like be like holding an attack button and you're swinging like an MMO. You just keep swinging and then sometimes you miss, even though you're definitely hitting them. So, I mean, that's kind of like a layover from, not layover, but it's kind of left over from the other Elder Scrolls games where, you know, Morrowind and Oblivion, that's it.
Yeah.
They were more like that because they started off as like, this is a visual representation of Dungeons and Dragons, which, you know, that was a cool thing, but it's the current year, EJ. Come on.
Okay, fair enough. Well, who knows? Maybe one night you can give it a go, and I doubt. I mean, how you couldn't have put more than 2 hours into Skyrim in your life, right?
Probably not. No, I mean,
you just said, well, this isn't for me, without actually getting into the meat of what makes it Skyrim. You know. Well,
I mean, I think I know myself well enough to be the gauge of what I'm into.
Fair enough.
Something I want you to try, though. I want you to try Nier Automata.
We talked about this on the last podcast.
Yeah, one of the last podcasts. I don't even know anymore at this point.
2 podcasts ago. Yeah, one of the last times we recorded. I don't know. It just seems, like you said, you know yourself. That probably is not a game. It's a game I'll try if I'm at your place. You put a controller in my hand, I'll try it.
Because I haven't really played many. I don't think I've played any other Platinum games except for the demo for Wonderful 101, which I didn't really like that very much.
Yeah.
Because the forced use of the tablet, and that's just like kind of gross. But from what I can tell, it's similar combat to say like Bayonetta, and you've played Bayonetta, didn't you? Or did you not like that? I know you own it.
No, I liked it. I liked it fine. Yeah, I played it for a few hours. I liked it. It was cool.
So just from what I can tell, it seems like, and people can correct me if I'm totally off base here, but it seems like the action and the moment to moment of a Bayonetta style game mixed with the customization and the leveling up and the RPG kind of elements of having different weapons.
Okay.
So that might kind of grab you, and it's a more open world. It's not. I've been spoiled by Zelda now, so the open world aspect of it, I'm like, this is kind of not the greatest. I mean, sure, you can teleport between different like checkpoints and like waypoints, but the actual geometry of it, I'm like, oh, I could totally go in there. Oh, I can't go in there. Invisible walls. But I'm sure someone like you who's played more traditional open worlds might be able to get past that kind of minor nitpick.
Right. We were talking about this in the group chat about, you know, game of the year, and is it going to be Zelda, and is it going to be, you know, whatever.
It's Zelda.
It probably will be, but I don't even think Zelda's my favorite open world game I played that month. Right? Like, I think Horizon's better in so many ways.
Horizon came out a month before. It came out in February, technically.
Right. But come on, the sentiment stands. No, I think Zelda does so much wrong or poorly, but it's Zelda. And it was a refreshing change of pace for that franchise. And there was a lot it did right in its own way that we hadn't really seen before. So, and exploration or traversal, you know, navigating the map is one of those things that was like, you literally have complete freedom to run, jump, dive off of anything and get into anything and get anywhere. That is something that I do miss playing other open world games. But I think there's a lot about that game. It was like, that game was good. It was a good Zelda game. It did a lot of great new things. But again, I'm not even sure it could be my game of the year. It obviously had the most hype, and it was like return to form for Nintendo. And like, there's so much more about what that game stands for and what it means for games and for Nintendo that, you know, it's not just the game itself. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like I want to jump back into that game now with a little more context and haven't like sat with it for a while. I want to jump back into it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it though. I had a good time with it, but game of the year for me, probably not. But we'll get into that again, you know, when we do the game of the year pod. But,
yeah, it's tough because I haven't played Horizon, so all what I can speak of it is like either what I've heard or what I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of translated through a filter.
Yeah.
But just from looking at it and looking at Zelda, it seems like Zelda does more new things. It's a more pivotal moment in game design, and more people are going to be copying Zelda than they are copying Horizon, because Horizon is a lot more derivative in nature. It's like taking the best of Tomb Raider and The Witcher and maybe even like Infamous, but like just other open world games, whereas Zelda, it seems like, I mean, this is exact, like totally just from what I've seen, seems like it's just a brand new thing, and it's a lot less like aping in its style and its implementation.
What did Zelda do that no one else had done? Honestly,
being able to climb anywhere and being able to use a glider to get from a high up location, like it rewards your climbing by giving you more freedom in your movement.
Okay, so that's something I really appreciate and I would love to see more of. But outside of that,
I thought its puzzle implementation and having those 4 core things from the very beginning was just a total boon in game design. And for a Zelda series in general, where it was like, oh, I'm going to go to a dungeon, I'm going to get an item, and I'm going to use the item in the dungeon and beat the boss, and I'm going to use the item to get into the next dungeon, but never use it again. You get terrible examples of that with like shit in Twilight Princess where you have that spinning top thing where you never use it, and it's a crappy thing. So they don't need to do that anymore. The only thing that was missing, that I think was missing from Breath of the Wild, was like a hook shot, but you don't need a hook shot because you can climb anything.
Right.
And you can go from a tall thing to another tall thing by flying there. So it kind of supersedes that necessity.
Yeah, I think it was a drastic improvement for the Zelda franchise, which has really been stuck in their ways for a very, very long time.
And people still like that. And I would still play another Zelda game. It's just, I think it's reached its peak. It's similar to how Mario Odyssey, you're not expecting it to do anything new because Mario is already great. You don't need to make it a new thing. You just have to make more of it.
Yeah.
So if they made another Zelda game and made it more like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, if they made a Wind Waker 2, you would play that in a heartbeat.
100%.
If they just made Wind Waker again, both like different dungeons, you'd play that.
Yeah.
So I applaud Nintendo for doing a new thing and taking a risk, which they haven't really done with Zelda, aside from like weird side spin-off things like Triforce Heroes.
Yeah.
In a long, long time.
I still argue that if this was any other game done just the way this game was, but had a different skin, it wasn't Zelda, didn't have Zelda characters, people would not be talking about it like it's the best game of all time. That's fine. That people can like what they like. I have no problem with it. People talking about it's the best game ever. Like, it's certainly better than Ocarina of Time. I don't put that on the best game of all time. That doesn't deserve to be up on that pedestal. So something finally usurped that. Like, that, I'm thankful for that. But speaking of which, Ocarina of Time, 19-year anniversary today. There's a little fun fact for you. But
it did it.
It did it. It made it. It's still here. So yeah, but if it were any other game, people would have really seen the flaws, of which I think there were many, and some really ruined what would have been a flawless experience for me in a lot of ways. Just really grinded my gears the wrong way. And I'm fine with that though.
It's a metrics thing, and it's what you're measuring it for. Because for me, Zelda did so much new and was so innovative and was an amazing experience. Like, I played 140 hours of that game, Yeah. I'm not going to play 140 hours of any other game that came out this year. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And it's not because it's a big game. It's because I kept wanting to play it.
Sure.
If it was smaller, I would have played it for less time.
Yeah.
Just because I played it until there was nothing left to do. And that was a lot to do. And each of the shrines were just little... I love the shrines. The shrines were levels of Portal, but in a Zelda game.
Right.
And it's just I just think there's very little argument that you can make that any other game is greater than Breath of the Wild this year or even this generation.
Damn, son. Holy crap. That's quite the statement.
Dude, there's been look at the last 3 years and people, what they made their Game of the Year award towards. Like, Giant Bomb last year had Hitman, their Game of the Year.
That's super weird to me.
And the game behind that was Doom. So it's like, Doom is good, but it's not great,
Right.
There's a total difference, and it's hard for me to communicate it, but there's just this quintessence.
Sure.
Kind of this untouchable kind of element to a game that makes it timeless and makes it just so perfect despite its flaws.
I think part of it is the narrative surrounding it, the nostalgia. There's a reason that Zelda clones don't do well. Like, there are a million Call of Duty clones, right? And they all do fine.
What other Call of Duty clones do fine? Titanfall didn't sell for shit last year.
Well, no, unfortunately, Titanfall was cannibalized by EA's other release that year, which is just another fucking Call of Duty game, Battlefield.
I think Battlefield's not very close to Call of Duty. Call of Duty, I think, took a lot of cues from Counter-Strike in a way, as far as its multiplayer elements, and that's what people play it for.
But I'm just saying, there's a reason that on a large scale, as far as AAA games go, there are no games like Zelda. And Zelda, that formula was super stale. Even we were only getting those games every 5 years or whatever. And so I think that's just Nintendo can do that because it's it's that experience is unique to like Nintendo and what they do. And I'm totally fine with that. It's just when I'm trying to sort of dig into the narrative surrounding it and being like, okay, why do people love this game so much? And I'm not questioning it. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just trying to understand it better because while I enjoyed it, it certainly wasn't my favorite Zelda game. It certainly wasn't the best game I've played this year, my favorite game I played this year. So I'm just trying to understand it better.
Which I think could be different. But I just think for me, like, just if you're going by game of the year, it's more than the sum of its parts. And part of what makes this Zelda so like unique and interesting is how much they did buck the trend. And no one was really like, they've been talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And people were like, okay, yeah, sure. But then they totally put their money where their mouth was and exceeded people's expectations. And I thought that's kind of part of the conversation with it. And you could say, like, if this was any other game, if it had a different skin, it would be not received as well. But I think that's also because it's part of the history of it.
Right.
And you can't separate that. There's no way you could imagine a world where this game came out and it wasn't Zelda. So
yeah, that kind of
skews the conversation right there. Like if No Man's Sky came out and it was exactly what Breath of the Wild is, but it just looked like No Man's Sky.
Right.
People would like that game more than they did when it actually came out, right?
For sure.
But it didn't. So, and if you talk about Zelda clones, there have been none that reach the polish and the quality that any of the Zelda games have.
No, totally.
So to compare them and to be like, oh, people only like this because it's Zelda is kind of an unfair kind of observation. Like people like Darksiders, even though that's essentially a Zelda clone, maybe a little bit less polished, which is, because THQ isn't going to dump several $1 million into a game like Nintendo can and will and does.
Yeah, I think the reason we don't see a lot of polished Zelda clones is because I don't think there's much of a desire. Even though Zelda games are so few and far between, I just don't think there's a desire the way there are for some other types of games. And I don't think
it might also just be really hard to make too, honestly.
I mean, Zelda games are the combat is fucking cookie cutter, and it's just a fucking puzzle game. Like it's not like,
well, yeah, I like the puzzle elements in Zelda games a lot more than the combat elements.
Oh, of course, and that's why you play the Zelda games. It's all about the puzzle and exploration, right? But the puzzle solving and exploration, rather. But I don't think there's a huge demand for that sort of game. But when it's Zelda, I think a lot of the stuff Nintendo does, people don't care if it's not Nintendo. There's a reason a lot of those genres, like we don't see Metroidvania games unless they're like rinky-dink, indie titles that you buy for $15.
See a million Metroidvanias. That's like the one genre that Nintendo made that everyone can ape, which I think is probably one of the reasons why Nintendo doesn't make a lot of Metroid games. A lot of what they do is pushed by innovation.
But I'm saying, name a big budget Metroidvania game. Like it's all
Metroid.
We got Samus Returns. Okay,
yeah.
But like before that, like Metroid was dead. I'm just saying,
the
like
handheld Castlevania games. I don't know how big budget they were. I mean, it's a 2D genre. It doesn't translate as well into 3D. I guess you could say Dark Souls is kind of a Metroidvania in some aspects. You don't get new moves, but the way you explore your terrain is similar.
Yeah.
Star Fox was a tech demo. F-Zero was a tech demo. Animal Crossing was really big and cool on 64 disk drive, but that never came west, so they ported it to GameCube, and then it took off. So that was just like a cool life sim. They made Pikmin because Miyamoto likes to garden. Like they have very kind of weird reasonings behind why they make their games. They're not focus testing their shit. They're just like, we made a fun thing. We built it out to its logical conclusion, and then we sold it, and it became popular or it didn't.
And only Nintendo can do that.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only ones that make enough money to do that. You see, Sony's Sony did that a little bit with like their indie kind of development in the PS3 and like kind of pushing towards those small titles and doing stuff like, Little Big Planet. I think that's a Nintendo ass game.
Oh, totally.
Katamari Damacy is like, you look at Katamari and you're like, that's a very Nintendo game, but it's on Sony.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of a lot of the Japanese kind of work ethic, I think, might have some sort of influence on that, and just the nature of how the businesses ran and who gets promoted, I'm sure has some sort of influence over the decisions they make in the long run.
Oftentimes to their detriment. A lot of very traditional, very strict and stubborn in a lot of their decision making, and sort of an unwillingness, I think, sometimes to be objective and make the decision to sort of join the party, so to speak, and do what everyone else is doing. They want to do it the way they've always done.
YouTube and fan games, all that kind of stuff.
That's certainly an aspect of it. But well, let's move into our last thing here before we have to call it a night. I just wanted to follow up on the Battlefront, the EA controversy, because
very little to add. I mean, we talked about it pretty heavily last time.
Sure, but that podcast is going up in the morning, and a lot has changed. I think since they came out, they removed microtransactions completely from the game.
Right, but they didn't remove the things you spent the microtransactions on. So you're still progressing with loot boxes. It's just that you're only spending in-game currency as opposed to being able to spend real money.
They also cut the prices of in-game, the in-game prices for these characters and other various things by like 70% or something.
They cut it more? We talked about it last time that they cut it by 75%. So I don't know if they've...
Oh, did we?
Yeah, I didn't see if they've cut it more since then. I don't think they have. What was that, Thursday night? That Oscar Gabrielson of DICE made that posted that image on Twitter. I'm sure they posted it on their blog too, but I just thought that was, this is where I get my news now.
Right. No, yeah. Well, they dropped it even further, I believe, and they removed the microtransactions so they can sort of figure out what the hell they want to do. Couple
what
things.
A fiasco.
I know, it's just a disaster. And what's frustrating about it is the fact that EA would have never. I mean, fuck EA. I so hate that Disney gave EA the rights to these games for the decade. I hate it. Of all the companies, this was the worst choice. But it's frustrating that they were content with their 750,000 downvotes, and they were content just leaving it as is. It wasn't until Disney. Let's see. VentureBeat is reporting that EA CEO Andrew Wilson spoke with Disney boss Bob Iger. Bob Iger is literally God. Okay, Bob Iger had to be like, fix this now, and that's when they decided, all right, we better fix this and remove microtransactions. Like, they would have been content leaving it and just pissing everybody off and saying, like you had brought up last time, we're okay with the 5% or the 1% of people who are spending all of their money on this than we do about 99% of our fans and the people buying this game. We don't care.
Yeah, it's people complained, and that's what made the change. It wouldn't have been like this if people bought it and didn't spend as much money. Like, voting with your wallet counts, but making a big stink can also count, especially with a franchise that is as important to Disney as Star Wars.
Well, that's crazy because we were just talking about last time about how voting with your wallet doesn't matter in the long run because it's such a minority, right? But
they're going to put microtransactions back in the game at a later date.
And hopefully it'll be done, tastefully. It won't ruin the game for anyone. But this is more about Disney, I think.
Nah, it's mostly EA. Disney wouldn't care about there being microtransactions if people didn't make a stink about it. If someone just told them, oh, there's microtransactions in the game, like, do you think that's the first game that Disney's ever oversaw that had microtransactions? Look at any Disney mobile game. How do you think they make money?
A lot of companies would just ignore the stink because it wouldn't matter. At least Disney was aware enough to be like, oh, they're making a stink, and they made a change or forced someone to make a change.
A very big stink. I mean, CNN and MSNBC were like reporting on it.
But the fact that EA would have done nothing despite that had Disney had not stepped in themselves. Like, it's just
Disney had more at stake because they're putting out a Star Wars movie in a month.
That's true.
EA is making this game and it's going to make money regardless. It doesn't matter what they do to the game. It's going to make money hand over fist. It's just a public image kind of thing for Disney.
Yeah. Well, no, I guess I get that. And at least they're aware of it in a way some other companies not. But I was going to say Yellowstone could fucking erupt tomorrow and obliterate this half of America, and Last Jedi would still be the highest grossing movie of all time. But, yeah, fuck EA. I saw some of the Black Friday deals on Battlefront, and I said, I'm not buying it. I'll wait till it's dirt cheap. I'll play the single player campaign, which I hear is really short and disappointing, so that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I've heard really bad things about the single player.
So that's just a huge stinker. Like, they had every chance to fix this game, give us what we wanted after the last time, and they just really fucked the dog. They bent that dog over, that poor pooch. They screwed the pooch, folks.
Oh man, poor boyo.
So something that I wanted to talk about that we're not going to be able to talk about: 5 years of the Wii U this week.
Oh my god,
a half a decade, dude, of Nintendo's worst console of all time.
Nintendo, they really misread the tea leaves on that one.
Let's save this for the next pod. I think there's a lot. We've talked a lot about the Wii U on this podcast. In comparison to the Switch or the NX at the time before we knew anything about it. We spent a lot of time talking about the Wii U and why it was a failure.
No, I mean, every time anyone's ever talked about the Wii U, it's always been a post-mortem. I mean, even a year after that thing came out, it was like, RIP.
I would love to next pod. I would love to dedicate a hearty segment to talking about our love for the Wii U, our Wii U memories, and some of our favorite games. Because I own every game worth owning on the Wii U. I love the console. I think it did a lot of things really well. It sucks that it just never took off. Obviously, it led to the Switch, and if the Wii U had been successful, we wouldn't have the Switch. So I'm thankful it worked out the way it did.
We can assemble the Wii U Classic.
Just every game ever released. All 9 of them.
Good one. Nice.
But just like the N64. No, I would love to do a little deep dive on that because there are a lot of games that I think the best iteration of exists on the Wii U. Smash Bros, Mario Kart. Although Mario Kart exists on Switch now, but...
Name one not console exclusive that's played best on Wii U.
Not console exclusive?
Yeah.
Well, I'm only talking about console exclusives. There were no third-party games whatsoever. So I'm talking about Nintendo's offerings here. Like they did a lot of great things on that console, even though they gave up on it 4 years ago.
Animal Crossing.
Oh, come on! You're just trying to poke holes here. Come on, man.
Paper Mario.
Oh wow! I think I bought that.
Kirby.
I never played it. But anyway, I would like to. You're a real son of a gun.
Star Fox.
Wow. I'm not saying it wasn't without its faults.
It's not even hard for me to name these things too. It's just those.
There were missteps and there were some weird experiments, but there was also some really great moments on that thing. And I mean, Mario Kart, Splatoon, Smash Bros. There's a reason 2 of those games exist on their current console. Mario was a Wii U game. 110%. This game would have been released a year and a half ago if the Wii U hadn't failed.
No. Not a year and a half ago.
Bro, Odyssey was a fucking port to the Switch.
Mario has a long tail. It would have come out October this year on the Wii U if the Wii U hadn't been 100% dead.
Well, either way, it was a Wii U game. And
so was Zelda. Yeah. Every game that has come out on the Switch, it does not take a second to make.
Right.
They had a contingency plan that got set in motion because the Wii U sales were totally bombed.
Yeah.
And they knew that within the first 2 years of that thing coming out.
But let's talk about it. We'll think about it. I want to bring some of my favorite games to the table. I would love to do a little retrospective and not talk about what a failure the system was because I had the thing. I think I got my Wii U in 2013 and I've loved every moment with it.
Oh, I know. I'm just shitting on it now. So next time I feel a little more cleansed and I can speak with a more positive tone.
Hell yeah. We won't get so much into the minutia, the details of, again, why it failed, the sales, but let's talk about our memories with it. We have a lot of great shared memories revolving around that little shitty black box. So
it's true. It's very true.
I've got some ridiculous video that none of you have seen.
What?
Oh yeah. Of us playing Smash Bros. Sam stage dove onto all of us off of the back of a couch while we were playing Smash Bros. I have video of all this.
Was that at the house or was that at the beach house?
It was at the house, dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
Downstairs in the downstairs?
Yeah. Before you guys put that wall in, I think, too.
Before the room was built?
Maybe. After. You remember?
So that was a big kind of downstairs before that got built. I got built like pretty soon. I think that room was there.
Yeah,
by the time I had a Wii U at least.
You might be right. But either way, yeah. I have a bunch of video from that. We had the GoPros going because I don't know what I was doing. Trying to get some silly footage for a YouTube thing when I was at school.
Just gotten a GoPro and you brought it over or something?
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, let's do that next time. And there's something else I want to talk about next time, but we'll get there. We'll get there next week.
You're not even gonna tease it on this one because I don't even know what you're talking about.
I can't remember. There was something that
Game Awards. That's all.
Is that next week?
Well, Game Awards is on the 6th.
Well, I'm saying, should we do that next week? Let's do it next week. Let's plan on that.
Yeah, we should probably do
Let's give ourselves plenty of time. That could be a 2.5-hour podcast. Anyway, we're just yip-yapping here. Let's fucking...
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and that doesn't make for good radio.
That's true. That's true. All right, y'all. This has been the Console Crusade podcast. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for banging with us.
Oh, nice.
We'll see y'all on the flippity flop. How old am I? What am I saying?
I was going to say, I'll check you on the flippy floppy.
Flippy flop. All right. See you later, Jobin.
Ciao.